Well, my name is Valencia, aka DamnValencia. Have to have that. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a singer, songwriter, and artist. And I also like to call myself a creative director, as I do direct all of my visuals for all of my music. So that's something that I'm also passionate about. But in a nutshell, that's me.
It's great to have you on the Cuts interview series, and I'm super excited to pick your brain and get some gems from you. I know you're very talented and very ambitious, so I really want to start off by how did you, Valencia, develop your passion for music?
Thank you, thank you. How did I develop my passion for music? I think it was just something that's forever growing as far as like my love for this art. I think it's something that me personally, just as a person, I have, was blessed to have this type of like gift, I guess, for lack of better words. And so starting young, of course, I was saying all the time with my siblings, with harmonies and, in the choir, et cetera, et cetera. And at a young age, late teens, I started singing background for a lot of artists. I started to realize that I had this like unique way of addressing artistry. So like when it comes to like performing, my stage presence was always different. A little weird, can't lie. So that was something that was I don't know. It was me, but I didn't know how to actually, really embrace that. So as long story short, I began taking music lessons from a well-known background vocalist. She sings background for NDRE and other like super dope artists. And she started like teaching me, and I started to get confident. But I always still like felt like, okay, I'm really like, I like music, I love music, but I don't know where I would go, what direction. I always thought I was supposed to be in the background. But as time went on, I started to love and love being able to present my own ideas. And that's when I began to start, being my own artist. And that's where the love and passion for music just became completely diehard. So it's forever growing, to be honest. So yeah.
I see, and I see the tremendous and just phenomenal growth that you've had over time. I
Thank
remember
you.
when I first spoke to you, I could see the love and the passion in your voice. So
Thank
I really
you.
want to kind of dive into what does self-love mean for you as a woman?
Ooh, self-love for me. Oh, that's something that I had to learn on a personal level. I think it's something that I think it starts with learning how to not only love yourself, and I know that's like cliche as hell, but also to like yourself, being around yourself. So for me personally, I know there was just, I mean, I think everybody has this a younger, immature Valencia. You know what I'm saying? That had to grow, that went through things that made her lose her confidence at some point, whether it was weight gain, whether it was, like I said before, I had to get confidence in my singing and in my stage presence and things like that. Whether it was understanding what I wanted from myself, and then taking that information that I learned about myself, what I didn't like, and then finding out the best way to address those. I don't want to use the word flaws, even though they are, but I feel like that's like harsh for those who are listening. But to address those insecurities and the whatever I felt like I was lacking that made me stop feeling myself. You know what I'm saying? And like, so I think that self love has a great deal to do with a great huge amount of just really focusing on what's needed in order to grow as a human and to be the best version of yourself, consistently growing. So I think that was something that was important for me and for my growth, is to say, what are the things that you don't like that's really bothering you, that's really holding you back? What are the things that will make you a better human, a better person, a better loving individual? And then as I started to address that, then I started to realize, yo, okay, I don't have to take as many naps to get away from myself. I can stay up and actually like, be by myself, enjoy the time that I have by myself. And I am like really loving the person I'm becoming. That was a very long-winded way of saying that, but hopefully it makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I think what made sense was the process, right? You said that you had to go
Yeah.
through creating a way to like yourself, then love yourself, and I think that
Right
oozes and
on.
shows in your music. and you've been able to convey yourself in so many different ways that it shows, and it allows others to embrace your art and your craft of music.
For
And I
sure.
wanted to kind of dive into how you kind of create music. I know that we had been talking about IG lives, about how you do live performances given
Yeah.
the pandemic that we're in, but what is your most preferred way to create music for your community?
Yeah. So my preferred way, that's a good question. So it varies with me. That's one thing that I kind of going back to loving yourself. One thing that I embrace about myself is that I can be a scatterbrain, that I have ADHD. So if you look at the tagline in my bio on Instagram, it's just saying like I basically turned that ADHD into my superpower. So the my favorite way to create is however it comes out. So like different songs, they were created in different situations, under different circumstances, different timelines. So like for example, Vibe, my song Vibe, I was in like a complete like I don't know. I was in a good place. I wasn't sad. I wasn't necessarily over the top happy, but I just remember like listening to the music and just start writing, and then boom, there it was within 30 to 45 minutes. And that was just like as I was writing it, I started to feel, oh, I feel good about this. This makes me like feel happy, et cetera, et cetera. However, like there are other songs that like that tell stories. You know what I'm saying? So like there's songs like for instance the song Streetlights, like there is a story behind it. Like it was like some emotions that I was feeling, and or it could be a song that I, you know, from experience from someone else, but that's still relatable. You know what I'm saying? So I find myself being a storyteller. So I like that type of process when it comes to writing music. Can I tell a story, or can I make someone feel something? I think those are like super important for me. But like I said, it could be all over the place or it could be like, you know, it's different. It changes.
And I understand that, and I think that that's what makes you a dope artist, because you tell
Thanks.
stories and you create vibes, and the energy is so great. And so
Thank
I
you.
definitely wanted to kind of ask you, do you have like a favorite artist or someone that inspires you or you want to listen to, that you can kind of at least mimic or just create that type of vibe when you do create music?
Okay, so great question again. So as far as like an artist that I would like to mimic, I don't have one. I've always prided myself in being original to an extent. I mean, everybody has some kind of, you know, influence from somewhere. Let's not be, you know, let me not take credit for that. But I do go about my artistry in a very independent and organic and original way. That's the mindset that I have anyway. But I do have artists that I look up to strongly. So artists such as Janelle Monáe, her stage presence is just awe inspiring. I've seen her in concert live, and I think that's probably like the only person I've ever like fanned over. Like, yo, my God, like this is Janelle Monáe. She crowd surfed. I touched her foot. What in the world? So there's Janelle Monáe, and then there's like artists that I grew up just kind of like, I don't know, just overwhelmingly um, impressed by their uniqueness, and that would be Solange. I love Solange so much. Like, and then she told me happy birthday on my 21st. So it was just like, okay, this is my best friend in my head. And then there's artists that I relate to that I feel like sometimes I, you know, look for artists that I feel like have a similar journey as myself. Like not the same, but like, and like for example, I consider myself to have been an underdog. So Tiana Taylor is somebody that inspires me. And not only that, because she also directs. So it's like Tiana Taylor has like been that artist where she's like, yo, she's been hustling. She wears many hats. She has so many different talents, but she just hasn't been appreciated. But then it was just like her recent album, it was like, because I enjoy a lot of her music, like so much of her music, but it's like until this recent album, it was like, okay, now we're taking her seriously. And they started to like fall back on, because I feel like she was bullied. And I don't know, she didn't tell me this, obviously, but that's somebody else that's like been inspiring. And then there's like old school artists, just so many, but those are just a few.
I love the list, and I want to dive into one in particular, being
Okay.
Tiana Taylor,
I knew
because
it.
of her legacy and the union that she's created with Shepard, and how he's been. I feel like he was blackballed in the NBA, and how his wife
Mm,
kind of got him into the form of music, and then he was on
yeah,
the cipher in 2019 or this year 2020, and it was just great to see how they're basically doing so many things and creating such a multi-dimensional
for
brand and
sure.
business that people can obviously fall in love with. And I see that so much in yourself. So how would you say the Damn Valencia brand has evolved over this time of chaos and uncertainty?
Oh, that is an amazing question. So,
Getting all these comments, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
hey, you're doing your thing. So, how has the Dan Valencia brand evolved over this time, especially during this time? Our approach. Like, I don't, and the way that I have grown. So I had to learn, and as an independent artist, I had to learn how to I had to learn how to manage myself. That was a huge thing for me because at first, when I was first starting my solo artistry, I just felt as if I needed a manager, but I kept getting put in a situation where it was like, no, you need to learn management for yourself. So once I learned management, once I was put in position to properly lead, then my team started expanding and our approach to things started changing and fitting the type of crowd that we were drawing as far as like my music goes. So we started appealing better to those certain groups. So as far as evolving like our creative ideas, as like we are about to show soon, with some projects that I've been working on, but our creative direction is just completely different. So those uniquenesses that I had and that I was very timid and like felt, I don't know, that others wouldn't accept. So the weird things that I used to do as stage presence and things like that, I basically embodied those differences and started using that a part of my creative process. Like maybe it was just timing. So now that I'm using that uniqueness, others are drawn to that. So as far as like, it's just not being afraid. I think that's what it boils down to. Not being afraid and executing correctly. So yeah, so that's how we've evolved, and and we're delivering now. So it's happening.
I love it. And I think that kind of goes back into what you were mentioning in the beginning of the interview when you were saying that it's hard for you to embrace those flaws, but those made your superpower. And so now that
Yeah,
you've actually embraced them, they become that rare and unique sound that people look to hear from you. And so
for
I
sure.
definitely want to tap into that in terms of just now allowing you to tap into the inner genius that you have and talk to that young woman that's watching this interview and saying that I want to be Damn Valencia in a few months or a few years. So, what type of advice would you give that young woman?
Yeah, for sure. And this could really go for anybody. But I would say um, what you have that's unique is marketable. And you can't allow others' ideas and others' opinions to move you away from who you are. Because at the end of the day, those things that make you who you are most likely what industry people are looking for, what um if we're seen on the television on like, you know, the red carpet or that outfit that you were afraid to wear, those are the types of things that are actually marketable. And a lot of people who try to tell you, oh, that may be too much, you're too extra, because I have been told that plenty many times. They may
I
be
think you're just
messy.
enough, though, right? I think you're
I
the
see
the best of like both worlds, almost. Like I
you.
feel like because I've seen your brand and how it evolves, and I can see where someone would say that, but I think that when you step into your own lane, you can do what you do and get away with it because it's that flair that you create.
I appreciate that. And that's something that I had to learn. And I encourage those out there to do the same, because it's the very same thing that they're telling you not to do. It's more than likely because either they can't keep up with you or they're afraid to do it themselves. So go out there and do it, but also do it in a very professional way. Like make sure your content is 100. Make sure that it represents you very well, because that is super important as well. So if you have something that's creative, make sure that you organize it to where when you're ready to present it, it makes sense for you and your team. And when you display it and when you present it to your audience, they are so wowed by it, they can't stop anticipating what you have next. And you'll
Exactly.
start to grow your fan base and keep going.
And that's kind of why I wanted to put you on the series, and I'm looking forward to part 2 and part 3 and part 4, because I think
Hey,
that you ultimately have that vision, and that
thank
allows you to
you.
create that purpose for others to see them and how they can approach their brand. One thing that you said that I kind of took away from that response is that you have to be able to get together with the team, package your vision into something that will enable you to be consistent and frequent with that message. And so that's what I've had to do. I've had to hire almost like a branding team to help me put
Hmm.
together my message in terms of micro content strategy. So I really wanted to ask you, in terms of your definition, just give me your definition of micro content strategy. How could that be of value for your brand?
So you don't go far without some type of vision, without some type of plan, because you can get to that ledge where you're supposed to go to the next level, but if you don't have a plan to get across, you're just going to fall flat on your face, and that's not good. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to take up time. So why, which granted, if you want to learn by experience, by all means, like that's going to happen at sometimes. But if you have a strategic plan in order to get to from point A to point B, you're going to move at a faster pace and it's going to be successful. So for me personally, that means if it's organizing a rollout plan for your song, if it's shooting music videos, you know what I'm saying? If it's catering to the appropriate audience, find out how to do that. So for me, it means studying, it means learning your craft, and it means learning what is not your craft when it comes to marketing, when it comes to promo, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to music business altogether. So for me, it means like the little things that you think aren't important, making sure you have it together. Create a doc, create a Google Doc, you know what I'm saying? And organize it, make a content schedule, organize it, and attack it as if just as hard as you would for something that's huge. Say you were auditioning for something and you would practice. You need to go and study, and attack it in the same way because it's important.
I love that response. And I think for me, as just a young professional, putting this platform out there and in partnership with the FAMCO, but also just seeing how I can just be able to have conversations with like-minded professionals that enable me to develop a more enhanced but professional perspective for life. I really appreciate that. So I want
Yeah.
to end this interview, as we transition to Instagram Live. I wanted you to drop some gems on those that are watching and let them know just like what is like a quote or a piece of motivation or something that you do, a daily routine that enables you to strive forward for greatness.
Okay. So I don't have a specific quote. I know one thing that I do live by is taking a breath, is breathing. And not only that, it's just feeling your emotions. So if you have to cry, go ahead and let it out. If you have to take a break, if you have to give yourself a mental break, whether it's as if a 9 to 5, you have an hour lunch. If you are working on your personal craft and you take an hour lunch, just to kind of take a walk outside. I take a lot of walks to clear my head. Do that. But I think the important thing for just individuals in their personal life and their career, and when it comes to careers, is mental health is important. Your mental health is important. So I am a huge advocate for therapy. I'm a huge believer in just doing whatever you have to do to stay healthy. I think that's important. And I know that seems like it's not, but your mental health can cause physical health issues. So it's just like, that is like what I live by. That's not a quote, but it's something that helps me continue on and motivates me to keep moving, is that, yo, I'm in a place where I can work and I know I have to get this and that done. Where am I at mentally? You know what I'm saying? And then in addition to that, when your mental state is there, you can now focus on the goals that you have and the reason why you want to meet those goals. For me, I feel like, first of all, I have a love for this, but I also know that my family is a huge motivation for me. So you can put those two together. Are you feeling healthy? Now you can attack your goals because you have that inspiration, which may be your family, your own personal goals that you want to meet. You want to be rich. I don't know what it is, but et cetera, et cetera. But keep that
Those
in
are
mind
bars.
and pair them together.
Those are bars. Those are bars, and I'm on one of my social media pages right now. I'm doing behind the scenes while we do the interview, and
Nice.
one young lady commented. She said facts. So I definitely know
Yes.
they're agreeing with you right now. And as we transition to my main page, where we'll do, of course, the recap show. I want to say thank you so much for being able to take the time out of your busy schedule. I look
Course.
forward to part 2 and part 3 and part 4, like I said, but right now, we just gonna carry this party right over to Instagram, and I'm gonna let you take a break, get some water, to do what you need to do. I'm gonna get set up here, and then I'll DM you on Instagram when I'm ready.
Thank you so much for having me. You have been a pleasure. Thank you.